I'll wait.
All set. Thanks, Dave.
Are we good? Yeah. Councilman Gary Donovan,
Councilman Donovan here.
Councilwoman Colleen O'Connor,
Councilwoman Colleen O'Connor, Council at Large here.
Councilwoman Bridget Hosky,
Councilwoman Bridget.
Councilman William X. Conlon,
Councilman William X. Conlon, 2nd District, present.
Councilwoman Liz Johnston. Did she come? She's absent. Councilman Mitch Galignano, Councilwoman Robin Hamilton,
Robin Hamilton, 5th District here.
Councilman Peter Massaro,
Councilman Peter Massaro, 6th District, present.
Councilwoman Trinae McGee,
Councilwoman Trinae McGee, 7th District, present.
Councilwoman Crystal Finelli,
Councilwoman Crystal Finelli, 8th District, present.
Councilman Robert Bruno,
Councilman Robert Bruno, 9th District, present.
Councilman Barry Lee Cohen,
Councilman Barry Lee Cohen, 10th District, present.
and Chairman Ron Quagliani.
Councilman Ron Quagliani, Council at Large. Thank you, Stacy. If I could ask you to please read the call of the special meeting.
Sure. West Haven City Council agenda notice of special meeting Monday, June 5th, 2020. Notice, Chairman Ronald M. Quagliani has called a special meeting which will be held at 6 p.m. on Monday, June 15th, 2020. This meeting will be held via electronic methods in accordance with Rule number 30. Please visit the City of West Haven's YouTube channel to watch the meeting the following day. The purpose of this meeting is a review and approval of the City of West Haven's 5-year capital plan.
Thank you, Stacy. All right, item number 5, review and approval of the City of West Haven's 5-year capital plan. I will turn the meeting over now to the Finance Chair, Councilwoman Hosky.
Thank you, Chairman. Good evening, everybody. First, I want to just ask, do we have any questions regarding the projects? We do have with us Doug Coulter, Chief Perno, Beth Sabo, and Michael Last. And Frank and Mirossi are on the call as well. I guess we could, are there any questions in regard to LoCIP directly that we have for Doug that we want to ask? Councilman Cohen?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Doug, we had gotten a couple of handouts, and on one of the handouts, there was 2 columns that were talked about total entitlement and available entitlement. I wasn't sure what that is. I saw a bunch of projects listed for each year, the amount approved, the amount expended, and the project balance. But can you just briefly tell us, I believe it was columns, I'm looking at it now, columns H and I that we were given. I didn't know how they related or what is the significance of that, please?
Floats the fund, and they divide the money up amongst municipalities, and each year they hand us a predetermined amount based on some per capita formula, and that's called the entitlement. So that's what we're entitled to receive each year. As you folks approve projects, the city then applies with a very short, simple form to the state, and we say, let's take, for instance, we want to spend $50,000 on sidewalks in this year. So you approve it as a capital project. We send it up to the state. They look at it. They bless it. Yes, it's a capital project. You're not supplanting your local funds, your operating funds with this money. It actually is a capital project. They bless it. And then they take the money out of the entitlement column and they put it into an approved a project account. Now, let's say we only spend $25,000 of that $50,000 request. And we write the check for it. We submit it to the state. They send us the $25,000 back. Everybody's happy. But the balance of the money is still ours. It sits in that project account until we call them up and tell them, we're done with that project. We don't need the 25. Please put it back in our available column. And then we can reapply to assign that money to a new project. So on that chart that you have the total entitlement. So each year you'll see a posting of how much they gave us each year. Then you'll see projects that we submitted, and you'll see expended amount. That's the amount of money that the state sent the city. The project balance is the amount of money sitting in limbo, waiting for that project to bill. And we have a couple of projects that sit in limbo, such as floodgates, because they're contingent upon deep permit or some other process that we're waiting to happen. So that's why the floodgates sit there for years and years, but it's still a valid project. It's still approved. The money's in reserve for doing it. There are other projects going back to 2008 that just were never, just bad housekeeping. Apparently they just weren't closed out. Now, the mayor's decided that the best course of action is to go back and be sure that we didn't spend any money that we should get reimbursed for before we close those projects and move on. So the unallocated amount of money, so there's a total available entitlement between projects that we haven't closed and projects that we haven't applied for yet. And that is 3.2 million in round numbers. Of that, there's 1.550, 1.5 million round numbers that we never asked to be spent on anything that's available to you now to allocate to a specific project.
May I ask a follow-up to that, please?
Sure.
Yeah, just to go back, for each of these projects over the years, regardless if it's 2018, 2019, what have you, that money that's been allocated that has not been, that is part of the entitlement that has not been spent yet. We have how many years? Is there any limit, or as long as that project's open, it's open?
Well, the official rules are 7 years.
Okay.
However, I've been informed, and they do, to go past the 7 years is simply a letter from the mayor asking that that money be reinstated. So that they're technically it's 7 years, but in practice there is no limit, and we can still go back to.
Just one follow-up, because then I've used my 2.5 questions. Is just so to confirm the 3.2, about 3.214, that's the available entitlement. The 1.550, that's part of that, right?
That's correct.
Okay. That's all I have for now. Thank you, Madam Chair, for your patience. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions for Doug? Chairman Quagliani?
Hey, Doug, I want to feed off of Barry's question there if I can. So the 1.550 million, at some point, at some time, they were earmarked for a specific project, I would assume. Is that correct?
That's not correct, Ron. The other half of the 3 million would be correct.
So if we were to reallocate that money, what's the process in order for LoSiP to approve a different project with that money?
Okay, so in this particular 1.5 million we're discussing, it's not a reallocation, it's the first allocation. And if you scroll up to that chart, you'll see why. And that is that you'll see 2 entitlements coming in for 18 and 19, and we never submitted projects for those years. And that's how we accumulate that money in that account.
So I thought that every year, one thing, and I know one thing that's definitely been done because he does a terrific job, are sidewalks. So, and I thought that monies were always used from LoSiP money, or is it money that may be left over from 15 or 16 and we're using that money first?
Well, all I can tell you is what the state reports to me that the city actually applied for. So there are no projects applied for past 2018 on the state.
And Mayor, could you confirm that that's the case? It just, I'm amazed by that we wouldn't apply for any projects for the last 2 years.
We hadn't applied for it. The sidewalks, though, there was money left in previous years, like before that. So we went back to the oldest year to start drawing on it, which is the right thing to do, because I know it's easy, and Doug's absolutely right, that it only takes a letter, but why even do that? So again, we had been working actually with Allison to begin with, Allison Fisher. She was part of the MARB group, and that's what she had suggested. So that's what we followed with. So we have been doing sidewalks, and that's where the money has been coming from. And again, now that we have the entitlements, I think it's wiser to spend the money, and that's why I'm asking for it to be added to the 5-year or LoSiP and the projects, the 4 that I have, to the 5-year plan. We're also going to be bringing more projects forward in the coming weeks. This is just the beginning, because we're in we don't have a lot of money, but what we do have, we want to spend wisely and try to, fix up our city.
And Ron, just to close the circle, so the other half of that 3.2 million would have been affirmative answers to all your questions. That money is committed. We might have spent it. We need to go back and make sure we haven't. Once we've closed that accounting loop, we can close the projects and return it back to available entitlement.
I'm all set, Chairwoman. Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions for Doug? Hi, Doug. I have a question. So you said the account, whose job is it to make sure that this is the factual accounting? Because I don't know where we got this. Well, I know where it came from, but on the first one we got, that it told us that this spreadsheet that we got hadn't been audited. That's off of this now. So is it, I don't want to assume, so is it now telling me that the first one we got earlier in the week, these figures should be audited by Finance Department, accurate to state 5/20/2020. So can you explain to me that you said some of those accounts haven't been accounted for or balanced, is kind of what I think you might have just said. But then looking at these, it says that as of May 20th, this is all accurate. So which one of those statements is accurate, and am I just confused if I'm not following?
And it was January's.
I'm sorry, Doug. I think you were muted part of the time you were talking. So if you can, thanks.
So the original numbers came from the January state report. And that's what I produced for the mayor in a hurry on Thursday on the way out the door, was January's report. So I came back in this morning, went back onto the LoSiP website and double checked the numbers and added in some sidewalk projects that had in fact been billed in the last couple of months to bring those numbers up to date. Now, just as a matter of polite housekeeping, I'm not an accountant. So if you're relying on numbers that I put on the spreadsheet, it's probably a pretty good idea to have a numbers person just double check them. So I like to put that disclaimer on there. Math was not my strong subject, but I'm pretty good at spreadsheets. And I did go back and check it item for item with the state's report, which is posted publicly online. Now, what the state does not do is provide these totals at the bottom. So when the question was first asked in January, how much money is available, they had a very small number. And when I added up all the money that we'd been allotted over the years and all the money that we actually been reimbursed for over the years, I saw there was a huge gap, a $3 million gap. And it took quite a bit of interviewing, I'll be polite with the state to get to the truth on how this is really parceled out. So what I'm presenting to you here is as accurate as I can tell from the state's records, the truth.
Thank you. So I have another question. So on here, on line 40, it says recommended closing project and reallocating funds on 2012. And then it says new surface for dogs, walkways for owners, and fencing at dog park. I think this is new or different than the other one, but I get that dog park was supposed to be at Veterans Field. And now there's a dog park. We're asking for money for a dog park at Veterans Field again.
So in January, I talked to Mark Payne, who had the most knowledge about these as he had transitioned to his new job at Parks. And I asked him what the status of these projects were. And those comments are based on my speaking with Mark, which projects he felt were done and over and needed to move on, and which were still active. So that's where those comments came, and their advice to the mayor. They're not anything other than our personal advice.
But what happened in 2012? We didn't do the dog park at Veterans Field. I guess
before my time. So
okay.
Mark Payne could answer that question.
Okay, because it just seems that some of these things are reoccurring. And if it's not the sidewalks, I guess I just don't understand why, but that's fine. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Does anyone else have any other questions? Councilman Cohen, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to just go back to something that Chairman Quagliani had mentioned, and I want clarification, if I could, Doug. We have like 1.5 million or half of that whatever million left. If we wanted to, and I looked a little bit at the low SEP requirements before I came to tonight's meeting, and I got a quick read of it. If we wanted to, not to say we would or shouldn't, or whatever the mayor decides to do, that we could basically apply for having our roads paved if indeed we had an approval process. Like if we wanted to say, listen, right now, we all know that West Haven, that our roads need a lot of work and there's never enough money in the paving budget. According to what I read, that low SIP money could be used for road paving. Do you know that? Is there any information you could provide? Or am I totally wrong? Because I think it's a very valuable thing.
Bruce, I think that you read it correctly. There are about 25 items that are very specifically easy to check off on their list. Road paving and sidewalks is the bulk of what other municipalities apply for.
Yeah, because they had a whole big, not a whole big thing. They had a significant section regarding road paving, and that's all I wanted to know. Thank you so much. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Barry. Any other questions? Councilman Bruno?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, so one of my questions was for the PD. Back in 2014, there was $70,000 left. Can any of that be used now for the plumbing problem that we have at the PD to date?
That's a possibility, Councilman. The finance department has made a commitment to go back into the records and do some sleuthing to find out if more checks were written that could be submitted against that bill. And when we determine if there's a balance in fact left in that project and we don't have an eligibility to apply for more reimbursement for past debts, then we can reallocate that money. It would just go back into the pool, and then it's up to you folks how it gets spent.
Thank you very much. So can Frank possibly follow up with the chief on that to see if that can happen?
Mayor Rossi?
We've already taken, Councilman Bruno, $60,000, and I've already signed all the paperwork. It's in process, and that's supposed to correct the plumbing and the urinals at the West Haven PD. So we've already moved that money from LoSiP, and it's been signed off on because I signed it just a few days ago. So I want to be clear, we are taking care of that.
I appreciate that. What time frame should we expect on that?
Well, again, I just signed it a few days ago, so it has to go back up to them, I believe, to get approval. And then I don't know anything about plumbing, so you're asking the wrong person. But there, obviously, we would have to have somebody, get involved and give us, RFP process and all of that. But we're trying to move it along as quick as possible. That's another reason why I feel so strongly about the cameras. I think they're very, very important in the police department. And I think that needs to, again, that's why I want I'm asking for the allocation of the LoSiP money so that we can get going on this.
Okay, thank you very, very much. And I do agree with you on the camera situation. Thank you.
Chairman Pagliani?
Thank you. I don't know if this question's for Frank or the mayor, but will these projects come in front of us again before they are started? So it's typically in the 5-year plan, we approve a bunch of projects to be on the list, and then when before the bonding goes out, they come in front of us again. But since these projects won't be bonded for, I just will we see them again?
My understanding is no. In other words, we can only spend what's in our LoSiP account, so we're not going to overspend or anything like that. That being said, that's why we're bringing it to you to allow LoSiP money. Any of the time that I was on the council, LoSiP projects were approved in the 5-year capital plan, and then they were taken care of after that. And to my recollection, it never came before the council. I can check with Lee Tiernan tomorrow. I'd be happy to, but my understanding is no. The bonding ones, you're correct. Those do come back. But with the LoSiP money, it's like, for instance, the sidewalks we've been doing. We're not coming back every time, they put a sidewalk in or stuff like that. The money was approved and allocated through LoSiP in the 5-year capital plan. That's why we're before you tonight.
Thank you. And just one more question, if I could. The $200,000 for Veterans Memorial Field, could, Mike or someone get, what are the upgrades that are going to be done for that?
Well, Chairman, we were just going to finish with Doug and then go to each one.
Okay.
So is everybody, do you have any other questions for Doug, Chairman? Are you good? Okay. And everyone else is all set with Doug? Okay, thank you so much, Doug. Chief Bruno is on deck. Are there any questions for the chief in regards to the cameras or anything pertaining to that? Going once. Oh, Chairman?
Thank you. So Chief, does that 120,000 correct all of the issues with the cameras? You're on mute, Chief, if you're talking.
I hear now?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe we'll have to look at the phone system at the PD also.
The operating.
The 120 was either or. The 120 was a guesstimate from what we had been trying to ascertain from certain people as far as vendors and equipment. we have a consultant we're meeting with on Friday. I will report back if it is higher than the 120, but I'm hoping that it's lower or at the 120 at least. The main issue that we're having is getting the, if we get the cameras done, we still have the plumbing issue. So we definitely have to get both done in order to use the cells. Currently, right now, we have 3 male cells working, 2 female cells, and 1 juvenile holding room. Of the complete, we have 8 male, 4 female, and 2. So we're minimum as far as what we can house. The other issues are the 51 cameras that we have within the building, including the cell block cameras. We have 38 interior, 24 for area surveillance in the back and sides, and of course the 14 cells.
So the 120,000, is that for the whole system, or that's just to repair what's not working in the cells?
We're looking to do the entire system because it's right now analog and it is unsupported. Anything that we get is just fruitless for our use. We cannot get anything that for replacement that will suit our needs in the cameras.
Great. Yeah, I just want to make sure you're covering the whole thing. All right. Thank you.
No problem.
Does anyone else have any questions for the chief? Chief Perno, when you said this is Councilwoman Hosky, when you said you were speaking to your consultant on Friday, are you also going to be discussing a price for the telephones that you just mentioned?
No, this is just the cameras. The telephones are another issue.
Right. No, I know. Do you know when you might be getting a price for that?
For the phones?
Yes.
No, we really didn't discuss that because it was in the, I believe, 22 budget.
Okay. Perfect. Are we all set with Chief Parnell, everyone? All right. Thank you so much, Chief. I appreciate you joining us.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
No, definitely. Talk to you soon. Beth Sabo, bye-bye. Have a good evening. Stay safe. Beth Sabo is on the call. Does anyone have any questions regarding the 2 memorials that the money is being allocated for? Oh, excellent. We are just moving right along. So Beth, you're all set. Thank you so much for joining. No, thank you for everything. Stay safe. Have a great evening.
Stay safe, and if anybody has a question later on, don't hesitate to ask.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
All right, be safe.
Michael Last, you're on deck. Are you ready? We know baseball's not your thing.
I am ready, Councilwoman.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Last? Barry, Councilman Cohen?
Chairman Quagliani and I are in alternate universes here because we have the same questions. So, Mr. Last, could you give us a ballpark estimate for each of, how does the $200,000 break up from Memorial Field? Like, what are the anticipated, how'd you come up with $200,000 basically? Give us an idea of what's going to be for what.
Okay, thank you. The first item would be to finish the locker room project, which we believe is going to be about in 2013, and the project fell short. The 125,000 would completely finish the locker room bathroom project. Another 40,000 would be allocated to the basketball courts at the Nike site where you enter the park. And there's also money in that 200,000 for a dog park. We've had some different estimates on there. We're not sure exactly what that would be. And then if there is money left over from that, we would like to install a playscape.
You muted, Barry.
Now you're back.
You're fine. You're muted now, Barry.
Okay,
You're unmuted. Go ahead.
thank you. So basically, we know about $165,000 between the locker room and the basketball courts, and you're estimating right now about 35,000 or no more than 35,000 for the dog park. At which point, all right, thank you. That's all I have. Thank you.
Councilwoman McGee?
I'm not sure who this question would be directed to, but there's a little area, I guess, where the dog park would be, where ordinances would have to change, allowing dogs to be in that area, because I guess right now dogs are forbidden from that area. So like, I guess what would we have to do to make sure that that happens before money is being allocated to structure it accordingly to bring a dog?
I can certainly, Councilwoman, I can certainly take a stab at that. I did talk to Ernie Chirelli, who is working on the dog park. He understands there is an ordinance where there are no dogs allowed. So an ordinance would have to come back to the city council to make an exception, from what I understand, from the city council, so that a dog park would be able to be installed there.
Thank you. That was all.
Anyone else? So I have a couple of questions. I've been to Veterans Memorial Park countless times, and I couldn't even tell you where a dog park is. Can you? Is it already there and it's just overgrown and hidden and you just can't see it? Or is it not been built at all? Because I guess I'm just confused by what happened in 2012 and what's happening now.
Councilwoman, I think the 2012 dog park is the one that you're going to find down at West Haven High School by the tennis courts. That was the one that was built, I believe, in 2012. The dog park proposed for Veterans Memorial Park is not there. The location would be next to, on the main drive into the parking lot, next to the horseshoe pits, is where the dog park would go. And then the playscape, there was a playscape in that same general area, which was in such bad condition that we had to take it out. It wasn't safe.
Okay, so that was my other question. So when you're at the Nike site basketball courts and you walk up that hill where the playground is supposed to be, are you saying that there's nothing there now?
There is nothing there right now.
Okay. So I'm just gonna say that there's $1.4 million that's not allocated. And I just find it, you can imagine how I might find it, that we're going to put $200,000 into Veterans Memorial Park, and at the end, no fault of your own, if we have money, we're going to buy a playscape. That's kind of like, it just doesn't, it doesn't make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. It is going to be a state-of-the-art park. And we could, at the end of this, be sitting there saying, we didn't have enough money for a playscape. We need to have enough money for a playscape, or we need to give you $225,000 to make money for a playscape. I cannot. Have we met me? I just feel like it's kind of like buying a BMW and coming home and having like Walmart rims on it. Like, you just, why would we do that? And I
Well,
go ahead.
just to answer your question, I believe the 200,000 will get a playscape installed there. These are just estimates that we have gotten walking through. We believe that we're going to get better pricing. So my opinion, money to do the basketball courts, we'll have money to do the locker rooms, we'll have money to do the dog park, and we will have money to do the playscape.
I appreciate your and if you're wrong, then what?
Then I'm going to be calling you and asking you for a little bit more money.
Okay. Like, but do you understand what I'm saying? I just don't want to put all of this money up there. You know, the Nike site is probably about 10 years overdue for where they play basketball for being refurbished. You know, that court needs help. It needs benches. It needs to be a little wider. I mean, there's so many things that I could say, and I would just hate that it's finally going to get. It should be a property that it should be the jewel of the city. You know, like kind of like the Green. That you should go there and be like, wow. You know, and I would just hate that it doesn't have that. So, can you tell me about so I would just hate for that to be finished because I'll be standing there on the cutting ribbon shaking my head and my neck would be cracked and Robin will be looking at me telling me not to say anything if there's not a new playscape. Somebody's probably going to tell me the wrong time because I'm just, where's the playscape?
I'm pretty comfortable that you're going to get a playscape in that $200,000. And I know on the basketball court, I think I'm with you. That does get an awful lot of use and it's popular. And I know Commissioner Tom McCarthy just had all LED lights put on it. It's going to be a very, very nice facility when it's all done.
So are we just laying down the new court or is it going to be expanded at all? So like to make the fencing come out a little bit to kind of put in benches? Because I know that, you know, Tom Conroy and Desmond Lyman, and I don't know who else, I don't know if we're doing it this summer, but my sons played down there and coached. They have that basketball league and parents there's nowhere you literally are on top of the court. Do we plan on moving the fence or anything, or we're just laying down a court?
To be very honest with you, I don't know. That request would have to come from Park Rec. I believe that I know it was included as the resurfacing. I'm not sure whether they're planning on making it any bigger.
Okay. Can you tell me about, so the dog park is going to be up near the shuttle boards? No, what is it called? The horseshoe pits. Are they getting once over or is it just going to be, because I know they were, I think, updated a little bit in the last few years.
I believe Councilman Donovan did some work up there with Westies United. So I think they're in pretty good shape. They have good lighting up there, and that's another real jewel up there. They get an awful lot of use.
Right. No, I know they had done some work up there. I was just asking if that was going to be part, and you know, whatever. But okay, Councilman Donovan.
Yeah, just off of that, Mike, what we did last year was very minimal because of the time and everything. But this year we were planning on probably almost rebuilding that horseshoe by getting donations for wood and stuff and painting them up. So that part will be done. The dog park itself will be down a little bit farther, I believe, if I'm not mistaken with that, because we were looking at that as well with them. That's all.
So adding the dog park is taking away from what area? Like, is it making the horseshoe pits area smaller? Is it making the park area, or are you just tearing down trees and like where's?
I don't think nothing is going to be torn down. When you, between the horseshoe pits and the basketball courts, you've got an awful lot of grass area. There are some trees in there, but the dog park and the playscape would be placed in that vacant area.
That's all the questions I've had. Anyone else have any additional questions? Anything for Frank? Chiplinsky? Going once? Oh, Councilman Bruno?
Madam Chair, I have a question for Frank. Frank, you there for us?
I am. I'm here.
Frank, could you explain to me about that $13 million that we're going to need for that high school that we how are we going to do that? In other words, I know that how could you just tell me how we're going to go through that, please, on that $13 million?
Sure. So we've been floating what they call bands, a bond anticipatory note, in expectation of actually bonding permanently the cost of the project. The $13 million is what we're currently holding in the bands. I want to take advantage of the low interest rates that are out there now and roll that over to a long-term bond and start paying that down. Eventually, we will have to bond for the entire $34 million, $35 million that the project is going to be costing the city.
Frank, what are the taxpayers going to be on the hook for the interest for this? Like, what are you thinking that's going to be?
Let's see. Man, I got to find the right file. It's a 15-year payback for the school, so it's going to be roughly what, 35 million divided by 15. So you're looking at roughly 2.6 million a year, almost $3 million a year to pay this bond back. And we're going to have to do this whether it's now or 2 years from now when the project, or a year from now when the project's completed.
Right, those numbers are staggering, but thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Councilwoman McGee?
Just wondering what could we do to expand Nike site to make it bigger? Obviously there would need to be more funds allocated towards the project, but how can we go about making that happen? Especially because it is a court that is used a lot and primarily by rec leagues. And so what can we do to implement that?
Well, I don't know. It's something I've been talking about. I think, Mike, you said it would have to come from Park and Rec. I don't know why they have to ask for it. Why can't we ask for it? I've been talking about it a long time. I'm tired of hearing myself.
I think you can ask for it, and I think it just has to be designed. I do know, I was looking at the LoSiP list. I think there's still about $43,000 left from an old authorization that could be used to expand it. But I think what somebody has to do is actually let Park Rec know exactly what they want to use the court for, what kind of space they need. You know, if there's going to be benches, because it's all fenced in now, so it would have to be completely redone, which isn't a big deal. It'd have to be designed. They'd have to probably hire a sports architect or somebody to do it. So it's certainly, Councilwoman McGee, it's certainly not impossible. I think somebody just has to come up with the ask from Park Rec or the folks that run those rec leagues.
Are you all set, Councilwoman McGee? Okay, any other additional questions, Chairman Quagliani?
Hey, Frank, I just want to follow on to Councilman Bruno. So my understanding is that first payment is rolled into the budget and the mill rate for FY21. Is that correct?
That's correct. $1.3 million is factored in.
Thank you. And then just one more thing. Is there any other Board of Education projects that would hit for FY21? I know they submitted like 2 sheets or something, and then that's where we got into discussion about Washington School. Are there all the projects that they expect to have for FY21? Is that included in the current budget?
So yes, so the 21 projects for the Board of Education, excluding the high school, add to $630,000, and it's primarily masonry repair, security upgrades, seating replacement at the rink, some HVAC replacements. In the document that Mike DeMassa should have sent you today, I've taken the pieces that were missed and added them into 22 through 25, so that we could at least get them into the 5-year plan and have it on somebody's radar. But I did not impact fiscal 21 at all.
Okay, thank you. And did we engage bond counsel yet? When would the council anticipate getting a bonding authorization request in front of us?
I'm hoping to actually bond in August. So I'm in the process of getting the paperwork together to get you a request for your upcoming meetings. I know you have a meeting on the 22nd, so it would have to get into Mike by tomorrow at noon in order to get on the agenda. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay. I did have a conversation this afternoon with Mike DeMassa and with Lee to see what was required in order to get it onto your agenda and have it move forward.
Because after next Monday's council meeting, we go into summer session. So the next council meeting wouldn't be until July the 27th.
Correct. So I'm working to get everything put together for you with a breakdown of exactly what we would be going out to bond for. And you know, it is the fiscal 21, all of the individual projects, which add to 15.973 million. Plus, there is an additional 3 million related to paving in prior years that never got bonded for. So we came across a document this afternoon that I believe in January of 2018, approval was given to bond for some of the paving in prior years, but it was never actually bonded. So I've asked Lee to determine if we need to come back to you with those line items or if that original approval still holds. So that's what I'm waiting for, is that information.
I'm all set, Councilman.
Are we all set with our questions? Councilman Bruno?
Madam Chair. So Frank, for year 21, then you said that we have 1.3 million put aside for the high school. But you told me that the payments are 2.6 million, right? So
it's phased in over the next, if you look at the 5-year plan, it would be 13 million bonded this year, 13 million bonded next year, and then the remainder in fiscal 23. So each year, that particular debt service payment would increase as we increase the bonding. So it goes from 1.3 this year to 2.8 next year, and then it starts fading down 3.5 down to 0 in fiscal 2041.
I got you. Thank you very much. I got it.
You're welcome.
Nothing else, Madam Chair.
Okay, sorry. Does anyone else have any questions? Oh, Toby. All right, I'd like to ask for a motion to add to the 5-year plan for 2021.
Make a motion. Add those.
Can I get a second? Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
How should we do it? Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion carries. So I read the resolution right now. Hold on. Okay. Oh, do I just say the just right, Chairman, just read this what Mike sent?
Yeah, where it says results.
Okay, sorry, everybody. It's just not how it looks. First of all, the City Council of the City of West Haven hereby approves the attached amended 5-year plan submitted June 15th, 2020.
Thank you, Councilwoman Hockey. The 5-year capital plan as amended has been approved this evening. Seeing that there is no other business on the agenda, I will take a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Is there a second? Second by Councilman Donovan, Councilwoman Hamilton. We're adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Good night, everyone. Thank you very much.
Good night, all.
Bye.
Is that Robin that said that?